L'autre point, c'est ce qu'on disait tout à l'heure, c'est d'utiliser des adresses mail vérifiées. Donc ne pas envoyer sur des adresses mail qui sont incertaines. Moi, je le conseille pas parce que ça peut nuire à ta réputation sur le long terme.
This man might be more famous within the French community, but you have maybe recognized him. He is Guillaume Mubesh, CEO of the Empire. He has revolutionized the practice of email marketing. And in this excerpt, he shares something interesting. Spam is annoying, not only when you receive it, but also when you send it, when emails are sent to unverified addresses. In this video, we will explore how to identify spam and what are the best practices for effective outreach. Hi, I'm Francois from Scrap.io, and today we are analyzing spam emails. I was born in 1988. Yes, who cares? But I believe my generation was the first to have computer classes as early as primary school and to be made aware of the dangers of the internet. So this part will be pretty basic because we all more or less know the warning signs of spam. Starting with the sender's identity. Often, scammers impersonate well-known companies. In France, it's usually companies such as Amazon, Leroy Merlin or Colissimo. A classic move. But of course, the email address doesn't match. Instead of support@amazon.com, you will get something like support@amazon0n.com. That sort of thing. Then there is a content, especially the email's subject line. Titles that evoke urgency. Often in both directions actually. It could just as easily be, "You want $10,000, please verify your identity," or "Legal action, we are preparing to seize your furniture and burn your family." To this, you can add the email's body content, excessive use of attachments, requests for personal data, or poor spelling and grammar. Although this last point seems less true nowadays. Up until now, it has been as basic as it gets. And most importantly, all of this, the spam identification part, is usually delegated. Typically, an email with questionable content will end up in the spam folder rather than the inbox. Now let's put ourselves on the other side. When preparing an email campaign, you want your emails to be read, to land in the inbox. In other words, you want to improve your deliverability. There is no magic formula for this, but there are best practices, starting with doing exactly the opposite of what we have mentioned earlier. Write non-clickbait subject lines, personalize or ultra-personalize the messages. Just make sure to set your variables correctly, so recipients get "Hello Francois" and not "Hello first name," for example. Of course, segmentation goes beyond just adding a few random variables. It's primarily about tailoring your message to the prospect's current situation. Here is a simple example. An online reputation agency created 3 distinct sub-campaigns based on Google Maps ratings. One campaign for businesses rated between 4 and 5, another for those between 3 and 4, and a final one for those between 1 and 3 stars. And it works. But for such prospecting to be possible, you need a minimum amount of data. And more importantly, data that is up to date. And if that's something that interests you, you can go to Scrap.io. Scrap.io is the ultimate tool for scraping Google Maps. By inserting a category and a location, we have access to our data. But wait, we don't have access like to a very old file we put on a drive and which is a couple of years old. Nah, we are talking here about up-to-date data. We were also talking about email campaigns. And the good news is that with Scrap.io we can also retrieve email addresses. We can filter them out to make sure that within our final file, all our data rows are filled with email addresses. By clicking the link in the description, you have access to your first 100 leads free of charge. Let's come back to our topic. We can add a couple of things. For example, avoid overly clickbait keywords like free, unlimited, or I'm fighting with Mike Tyson. Include an unsubscribe link. And this last point brings me to another topic. So far we have covered best practices, recommended actions, but we haven't yet addressed the legal requirements. Because the unsubscribe link is part of these requirements. It aligns with the Can Spam Act in the US or GDPR in Europe. GDPR specifies that email cannot be sent without the recipient's explicit consent and that they must be able to revoke that consent with a simple click or two. But GDPR isn't the whole story. We also touched on this in the video about the new guidelines from Gmail and Yahoo. Another important factor is authenticating your email address using SPF, DKIM and DMARC protocols. These play a huge role in establishing your domain's reputation. I won't sugarcoat it, these three concepts are surrounded by so much jargon that there is even a Reddit thread explaining them as if you are 5 years old. So in summary, SPF checks whether the email and the server align. It's like ensuring the delivery person matches the expected delivery company. DKIM ensures that the email generally comes from you and hasn't been tampered with. You know, like in movies, like a king sealing a letter with their signed ring. Finally, DMARC answers what happens if SPF and DKIM fail. If the seal is broken, the question becomes, my lord, what should we do? Burn the heretic, of course. To conclude, let's mention a few tools for verifying the validity of an email address. Among others, there is mailtester.ninja and enter.io. That's it. In reality, everything we have discussed so far can be summed up quite simply. Even if your email successfully lands in the inbox, the recipient can move it to the spam folder with just one click. To avoid sending spam emails, the key is to create a well-crafted campaign and to monitor it constantly. Optimize the open rate, click-through rate, and minimize the spam rate. At the end of the day, it's pretty logical. The deliverability of an email largely depends on how people react to it. This is the end of the video. If you have enjoyed it, you can subscribe. And if you want to try out Scrap.io for free, the link didn't go far. It is in the description. There is nothing else to see. The end.